Welcome aboard the USS Aeronome. To become a member of our crew, please visit perfectorganism.com/support. As a patron of Perfect Organism, you'll receive exclusive perks and early access to content. Incoming audio transmission received. Please proceed to Subdeck 3 to begin playback. Thank you, and welcome aboard.
Doc, I think we ought to discuss the bonus situation.
Right.
Brett and I, we think we deserve full shares, right, baby?
You see, Mr. Park and I feel that the bonus situation is good.
Move! Get out of there!
Don't you move! Dad! Move, Dad! Move, Dad! Get out!
Welcome to Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga podcast. I'm your host, Jaime M. Prater, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Patrick Green, alive and kicking, making it to the end of 2020, bit by bit, Jaime.
We're
bit
almost
by fucking
there.
bit. We're so close.
We're almost there. Oh, God.
You hanging in there?
Tonight, we are joined by a troop of friends that Patrick and I know in varying degrees from all over the social media to the internet to fandom to wherever. And tonight, we're here to discuss discuss and speculate on Noah Hawley's Alien series for Hulu. But before we get into that, we wanted to briefly just kind of memorialize David Guyler and the people who've come before. David Guyler passed away a couple days ago. If anyone doesn't know who David Guyler is, he is the second part of Brandywine, and Brandywine Pictures or Brandywine Productions have produced the Alien films since the beginning. David Guyler is the man who rewrote Dan O'Bannon's script for the original film. He also went and rewrote Alien 3 many, many times while it was in production, before it was in production. He also wrote The Parallax View, starring Robert Redford, which is a fucking amazing film, if anyone hasn't seen it. He passed away at his home in Bangkok from cancer a couple days ago. Because of him, we are here. You know, much like Ridley Scott, much like Dan O'Bannon, he really informed our experience. So we wanted to definitely say thank you to him.
Yeah, this is Jaime and I were reflecting a little bit before we went live on this. This has been I mean, it's been a year of loss in so many forms for so many of us in so many aspects of our lives. But one of them specifically has been within the realm of alien fandom. We've really lost a lot of people. You know, having Ian Holm go this year earlier, to Ron Cobb, to Peter Lamont, the incredible production designer, just a couple of weeks ago, and then to have David Guyler pass 2 days ago. You know, such a seminal part, along with Walter Hill and Gordon Carroll, of the production legacy of this series. As Jaime said, you know, he was responsible for so many of the great scenes in these films, personally, with rewrites and with other script work that he did. He also famously executive produced Tales from the Crypt, which is another just great piece of pop entertainment from the last 40 years of all of our existence as a global pop culture. And I personally I was mentioning this in our group chat. I always really appreciated when he was interviewed, because he always was like no bullshit. He was always chain smoking, and he was always just no filter, just saying whatever he wanted to say and being completely honest. And I always felt like he was a real honest fan of not only sci-fi, not only the Alien series, but just of movies. He was just a movie guy. He was somebody who lived and breathed this. He was born into a movie family. His father was a writer. And I think he just, had a very long and incredibly productive life in film. And he, it's easy to say, well, he lived a good time and he got a lot done, but it's another thing to say, like, and it's over, and it is, he's not coming back. And that's a kind of hard pill to swallow. It reminds me a little bit of the close of last year, which was 755 years ago, for those of you keeping track, when we lost Sid Mead, right. Um, enormous loss. Also, was I frozen there?
You were, just for a split second.
Yeah, that was a little weird. I'll just go back for just 1 second. It reminds me a little bit of what would happen at the end of last year, 2019, which was 755 years ago, when we lost Sid Mead, the production. a huge loss to all of us. So, yeah, feeling that tonight.
For sure. And just quickly, the people who we have lost that were connected to Alien, as we mentioned, David Guyler, Peter Lamont, production designer for Aliens, Charles Lippincott, publicity and photographer on Alien, Ron Cobb, conceptual artist on Alien, Ian Holm, who played Ash, the iconic Ian Holm. So it's been a pretty tragic year, but a lot of these men were, 80s, late 70s, long lives that they lived. So we certainly appreciate what they've done, and passing the baton literally to Noah Hawley and Hulu and Disney as they take over Alien, and as they unfurl their new idea of what Alien is and can be. But before we get into that, I kind of want to go around the round table, and there's a lot of us here. It would be great to have some introductions. I think we should start maybe with the person on my left, which is Perry, and then we'll go from there. Just as brief as you can. Just tell us a little about yourself, but most importantly, like maybe a memory or two of the Alien franchise, or how you got involved, and what your favorite film is of the series, if you have one. So, Perry, let's start with you.
Yeah, totally. Hey, you guys, thanks again. Love being here. New to the group, obviously, but yeah, where should I start here? I guess, Jamie, I know you're probably gonna hate this, but I was a kid, and the way I remember it, I think the first Alien film I actually watched was Alien Resurrection, because I could. It was the most recent release at that time, and I think my parents let me watch those types of movies, or not types of movies, but it was because it was like sci-fi, it was space, it wasn't like a reality to like a war film or something like that at the time. So like I really actually got into it, and because of the Kenner figures, as well. I know, Patrick, you're a big fan of the gorilla alien. I had that scorpion alien, the mantis alien. I had all those as a kid, and I just loved everything about that around it. So anyway, it kind of crept on to like where I saw Alien on TV once. Like my dad was watching TV, saw the chest burster scene, and that was so powerful to me. And then that's when I finally started watching it. And I had another good friend in grade school that was probably just as obsessed with the films as I was, and had the figures as well, the Kenner figures and things like that. So we would collect them together and just bonded over that. But it turned into this whole, just, I guess, obsession, but thing into the whole Alien franchise. And that's where I followed it ever since. And so from there, I mean, I love the first three movies. Alien Resurrection, I did watch at the time when I was a kid, but now obviously seeing it and growing up and understanding the things I do, it obviously it doesn't touch the first three at all. And so I would have to say Alien and Alien 3 are definitely on par to be my favorites. I love the first three. Obviously, it's really hard for me without the others. Without Alien, obviously, we wouldn't have the others, or even Prometheus, Covenant. So yeah, I gotta end it. I guess I don't know, man. The ending, Alien 3 is just like knowing everything about the friend and the things I know now and how and the struggles they went to make that film. It just pushes it one notch, maybe a tiny bit above Alien. But you guys, honestly, like if I have nothing to do and I'm here, I'd work from home or remote now because of COVID, but I'll honestly just put Alien on. I've probably watched that movie like a million times. I just have it running nonstop in our household. My wife gets sick of it sometimes, but it's fine. So anyway, I'll end it with that. Alien 3. Yeah.
Your next match.
Oh. Hi, everybody. Majid. My name is Maj or Majid. You know, what are words? Anyway, friend of the show. I help out with social media. Happy to be back. And my favorite is the first one still, probably just overall. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about the show. I have questions for you guys. What do you guys think? And if you guys listening, you know, want to be more involved with the show, you know, jump on Facebook with us. I know a lot of people don't have Facebook anymore. I help run the Instagram as well. If you want to talk to us there, you know, Perry is a super fan on there, to always giving us so much support. Now he's here chatting with us. So, you know, keep that in mind. And yeah.
Yes, that was actually terrible part on art for us, Patrick. We didn't really introduce Maj, who he is and what he does with the show. So sorry about that, Maj. Maj runs our Instagram account, and he also posts via the Facebook page. Facebook is still the #1 social media thing that's used, by the way.
Not with anybody under 50.
Yeah, it's the #1 platform of weird uncles, I think, is the of the strange family members.
Middle-aged people with hot takes.
There we go.
And the occasional 28-year-old like me with an alias. Yeah.
Derek, how about you?
Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. I think probably my first memory of Alien, I don't even remember how old I was, probably 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there. But I walked down the stairs in my parents' house, and my mom has Aliens on. It was on TV or whatever. And I walk in, and the first scene I ever see is Newt in the water being grabbed by the alien, and it just scared the shit out of me. And probably like first or second grade, went to a friend's house after school, and he's like, hey, you got to watch this movie. And he just showed me all like the battle scenes, and then I was hooked. A couple years after that, a little bit older, finally saw the first one, and been on a ride ever since. I've been slowly introducing my kids to it. Just showed them the third one the other day, and it's interesting to me is they don't seem to think that the alien itself is that scary. I asked them what they thought of the movies, and like, it's not anything I'd have a nightmare about. So it's kind of interesting. I like showing it to them. Yeah, they're 10 and 11, so
Like, Daddy, we live in a nightmare now.
that's pretty much it. My daughter likes the first one the best, and my stepdaughter likes the second one the best so far. I haven't shown them Resurrection yet.
No
I don't know if
need.
I'll show them that. But
It's okay.
Like, Daddy, these movies are stupid.
yeah, so that was kind of my introduction to it, and yeah, I've been watching them ever since. I probably watched the second one the most, but recently Alien 3 is probably my favorite, just with how dark of a movie it is, how depressing. To me, it seems the most depressing movie, and just having an end to it. I like the assembly cut, but I wish they would have had the original ending in the assembly cut. That would have been more satisfying to me. And then I just probably at least once a week, aliens in my dream in some way, shape, or form. I don't know why. I'm not laying in bed thinking about them at night, but for whatever reason, I dream about them an awful lot.
Awesome. Peter.
Peter from the Midwest here. Given the order a couple times, so I'll keep it a little shorter than previous times. But Alien, I got first introduction to Patrick and Jamie's through their other sister podcast, Shoulder of Orion, Blade Runner. Blade Runner holds a place in my heart, mainly through influences from my dad, and that throughout the years, and sort of reawakened to all that with 2049. Found Jamie and Patrick, and just sort of have loved being part of the greater group at this point. For Alien and Aliens, where there's a little more emotional connection to Blade Runner and things like that, Alien is sort of my space for fun. And even in there, it's a little compartmentalized. Alien itself, the original movie, is sort of the space for comfort, the space for thought. You have the wind moving through the ship. You've got just the sounds of Mother. It's a little more cerebral, and you can kind of lose yourself in it. Where Aliens is just brings me back to being on the couch with friends, as the analogy I always use, which is why I just was drawn to Perfect Organism in sort of its infancy here on the show. And just my favorite things are these goddamn town meetings with just people talking about it, because it just reminds me of being middle school on the couch with friends talking about it. So yeah, it's fun to be here. I've purposely kept 100% completely just in the dark about the series. I know nothing about it, so I want to hear you guys talk about it, tell me what it's about, and basically react as we would if we were just hanging out and talking about it for some of the first time. So I just enjoy kind of staying aloof to it. So I'm excited to even hear what the heck this thing is going to be about, but I'm excited nonetheless. So welcome to the couch, guys. I'm excited.
Awesome. Michael.
Hi, everybody. I am Michael Mccullough. I'm one of the guys from Perfect Organism that they just haven't been able to shut the door on yet. They keep just kind of letting me scurry back underneath the crack and give me a chance to voice a little bit. As everybody knows, my favorite, without doubt, is Aliens. I'm a kid of the 80s. I grew up. That was the first one I came to. First one I ever saw. I actually did it backwards. I watched Aliens with my dad. And he kind of said, "Oh, did you like this?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, you have to see where it starts." So he, of course, pushed me back to see Alien, which I didn't, and then loved that one. And I'm gonna be the one that's kind of the raw end of this, because I despise Alien 3, not for what it is, but because Jamie and I have talked about this. So has Patrick and I. I was all on board, as in Ellen Ripley is my favorite female character of anything I can get my hands on with her. But she was the tops for me. And for that movie to bring her demise about, even though I knew it had to happen, it still kind of cuts a little deeper than the other one. So yeah, like I said, I'm glad to join you guys on this. And like I said, I mean, there's nothing greater than join a bunch of other guys and talking about what we love. So thank you guys for having me on. Smell a throwdown.
Yeah, Michael, I'm afraid we're going to have to say goodbye for the night. This has been a pleasure.
Oh
It's been so great seeing you, my friend.
I'm like, as Jamie has it in the background, I'm like,
I've been watching it the whole time.
I have not talked to anybody
Just
in
to taunt
14
him.
days. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you, and you're going to listen to me, because I need to get out. All right. So that's the way this is going to happen. Just take it and just let it go.
I love how, as the year has gone on, these like roundtables have gotten we've become increasingly bizarre, because we've all been like quarantined for so long in all of our individual homes that we're forgetting how to interact with people. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of moments like that tonight. I miss you though, buddy. It's good to see you again.
It's amazing, like how impactful, like, whatever, the whole Aliens versus Alien 3, like all three of those movies, the bespoke aesthetic of each of those movies is like so influential in its own right. Like I was just, on a random YouTube dive, how we do in 2020, just solo in the dark, and just like just just looking at like I was looking at this game, this like old computer game from my youth, and I was like, this is Alien 3. They took the whole vibe of Alien 3. It's all like rust colored and it has like slight Giger art to it, and then but like Aliens, just the sort of even in Hadley's Hope, like the hallways are sort of like Nostromo-y, space station-y, just like that, and the pulse rifles and everything, like that aesthetic, like I knew what that was years before I saw Aliens. And like I just think, and that kind of even comes back to something I wanted to say to you, Perry, which is like there's no shame in like where you start with these things. There's all types of, there's so
Jamie, you're the one who saw Resurrection 340 times in fucking movie theaters.
When I was
Jamie.
15.
No, you know what?
When you were getting your AARP card, get the discount.
Jamie, you're so right. I should have just like gone back in time, told my parents like, hey, can you do it earlier so I can like be more hip to this stuff?
Were you not born?
This is what the Alien series will be about.
I
was Alien 3 was 92, right? Or 91?
Yeah.
I was born in
92,
92.
yeah.
Yeah, I was born.
Yeah, okay. Oh shit.
Oh,
He was actually conceived on the set of Alien 3.
23 and me.
He's the child of Sigourney
Yeah, there we
Weaver
go.
and Ron and Ralph Brown.
Yeah, I was conceived on a stack of 400-foot loads of Kodak. But
Can I just say, I just wanted to say, I love Christy in that movie when I was a kid. I love the whole underwater sequence. And like, I would watch that movie just for that sequence. I was like, oh,
I saw it
aliens
4 times in the
underwater.
theater. It was fun for sure.
Yeah.
I still like Resurrection. The fucking video game that came from that was great. That was like a big part of my like 11 to 12-year-old self was playing Alien Resurrection on PlayStation. Like, no shame. There's no shame.
Before we continue, let's let Chase go, and then we'll get into it.
All right, great to be here. Appreciate being on again. This is nice because as a kid, I didn't hang out with a bunch of people who liked Alien, so I didn't ever have this. So I like how you guys have memories of hanging out with your friends on the couch, talking about it. But when I first saw Alien, it was like in my formative years, early in high school, and I didn't have anyone that I was bouncing all these ideas off or bouncing all the emotion off of seeing the space jockey for the first time. So it's definitely great to be here. But yeah, Alien's still my favorite. No matter what. Alien, you know what? Honestly, for a good while, not so shamefully, for a long time, I had Alien, Alien Resurrection, Aliens, and Alien 3. It's changed. I've realized the error in my ways.
Nope. Calling the alien police.
That's funny.
Listen, I can still enjoy it. It's not a good film, but you know what? It's got its own
It's
merits.
beautiful to watch.
Maybe in a way. Oh yeah, what's fun? Like we said.
It just reminds me of, I went and saw, I guess it was 2019. Yeah. The screening of Alien Resurrection with Jean-Pierre Jeunet and a bunch of the people who made it. This was last year at USC. And as he was talking about it at the end, he was like, yeah, for every scene he had an accent, of course. Like, for every scene I approached, I thought, what gag could I pull? I was like, oh, fuck my life. Like, there we go. But it is a bunch of fun. Which I guess we should transition into why we're here tonight. Patrick, do you want to set it up?
I would love to set it up. I apologize. My connection for some reason has been a little wonky. So if I freeze, just like make weird faces and I'll notice it when I come back. But you know what? My connection is freezing because we're all fucking online because we're at the end of 2020 and we're all stuck indoors and it's cold and it's dark out and we're here with friends tonight and we have many friends on the call. And we're here specifically tonight to take some time to talk about the new series announcement and to unpack some of our ideas about what it could mean. As far as I know, there's been no further news on it, in the last week or so since the announcement actually dropped. But we have to remember this was a seismic moment in Alien fandom. This was something, Jamie and I talk a lot about how, we have it because I came on board in the aftermath of Covenant, right? Like I came on board in the scorched earth that was after that movie. When it already had come out, but I wasn't there for the whole lead up to it. Definitely the most dramatic time. And so this was something where, we hadn't had an announcement to be looking forward to together, until this. So this was a big deal just for us as a podcast. But as Alien fans, this is the grail that we've been waiting for. It's not a film, but it's new content. And not only is it new content, it's new content from somebody who is very capable of doing new things very well. from a company that has essentially an infinite budget for it. So it's a very big deal on many different levels, and we wanted to take some time here tonight to see some of your thoughts about it, and we'll share some of ours too. I know we both have some of our opinions on what this Earth setting might entail, but basically, just to recap very briefly, what we do know about it is that Noah Hawley, the producer behind Legion and Fargo, the television series, and other things, is going to be creating a series for FX via Hulu, via Disney, on Alien that will be centered on Earth sometime in the quote unquote near future. That's essentially the only thing we know about it. We also know that from a marketing speak standpoint, it will combine the horror of Alien with the dynamite action of Aliens, but that's all FX executive marketing talk. So who knows what that actually means. But yeah, that's basically, we know that Noah Hawley is going to be making a series, and it's going to be a streaming series on FX, and it's going to be coming out sometime in the future, and it's on Earth in the near future. And anybody wants to kind of jump in to get things rolling, what were your thoughts when you heard this, and what are some of your ideas for what it could look like?
I'll just jump in and say, we should all open our third eye. Roger Deakins shot the original film Fargo. Okay, Fargo the series, Blade Runner 2049, Blade Runner, Alien, universe confirmed is all I'm trying to say. I'm just kidding. Confirmed. But no. Well, I have a question for you guys, because Patrick, I know your comic book consumption is for Alien comics especially is very high, and I know they've had a lot of storylines that took place on Earth, and like I'm not like the guy in the meme who's like change my mind or whatever, but I was like, I can't think of a good story that takes place on Earth, but that's why I'm not a professional screenwriter. So I'm wondering, any of you guys please jump in. Like, is there a story that excites you either from the comics or from your mind that would take place? Like, I'm having trouble thinking of the setting. Like, what is are they gonna, I hope they build out a whole interesting world that looks like, unlike our own and stuff like that. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I think personally that it's going to be from the beginnings of what goes on behind the scenes at Wayland. I'm hoping it's something. I mean, they've, like I said, comic book wise, the stories are endless. But you get to a point where the comic books now are routinely becoming the same thing. One or two people get trapped somewhere, a hive get trapped on a planet that's desolate. There's an outbreak. Everybody gets killed. One person survives. So far they've become a little bit stale. Not that I wouldn't read every single thing that comes out from front to back, but I personally am hoping, with who the people involved are, I'm really hoping it has more to do with the underhanded what is going on at Wayland. What are they doing behind the scenes? Basically the who are they willing to silence in order to go through with the plans they have. I don't know. I mean, we don't know if it's going to follow canon. Is it going to be something that will have is this going to happen before, Prometheus, when they first got an idea of, hey, there's something out there we got to go take a look at. Let's go. I don't know. I hope it's something. I hope it's something that really shows Wayland in the sneaky sabotage kind of down world and something like that. I mean, of course the alien fan in me, I want to see some kind of connection, creature, something involved in there, but I don't have to. Like I said, this might be one of those things where they can show it from a different light, because as we've all come to know, Wayland is enemy number one, but they really never built on it. You just always found out at the end of these movies that they were the one that was breaking the rules and bending the laws and everything like that. So me personally, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a sort of a behind the scenes, what really is going on.
I kind of agree, because I don't know if there's, so it depends on what near future means. We've all kind of talked about that. It's been referenced. We're not sure exactly when this is going to happen, but the only way I see an Earth setting and a near future setting, the only way I see it is something like that, where it has to do with Wayland, whether it's their beginnings, or if it's the first time they get like information about the xenomorph existing or something. My mind immediately goes to something similar to Alien Covenant Origins, the prequel book, which, by the way, I think sucks. But that's the kind of thing. So I mean, I can imagine something in that sort of vein, but I'm only cautiously optimistic right now because I think the near future in the Earth setting, it seems to kind of box it in. But that's because I'm imagining them going back to the same well that they've always gone. Like Mike said, how it's getting a little stale with the sort of formulas that they've been working with the movie. So yeah, I think it's probably going to be something to do with the beginnings of Wayland, or the very inklings of their humans in this timeline, their idea of the xenomorph and that it exists.
If they learn anything from, I don't know, the less than positive reactions to like the past few films, I think just like I think what people don't want is answers to questions we don't have. So just like, as long as they give us something, I don't know, like the Mandalorian, it's had to get brought up. It's a high standard. I think we're all like coasting off that high of like, oh my god, that's so awesome. But I'm still so excited. I'm not gonna go in with my nose turned up and, you know, my arms folded, because it's like, it's an alien show. It's just, you know, it's like we should all, you know, I'm just grateful to have it.
I agree.
I think there's oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Derek, jump in there.
I'll be happy to watch whatever it is they decide to put out, but I feel like personally what I would want to see, and it leaves a pretty limited scope, but I guess I don't know how it starts, but just Earth being wrecked. You know, you've got pockets of resistance, and there's just no hope, and humanity's falling to these things. Just a really desperate and dark show, and eventually it's overrun and nobody survives. I don't know why that would interest me, but it does. But it just, I mean, it doesn't get you beyond a season.
That's dark.
Yeah, that's very fun. That's no. But no, I kind of agree. Even I don't know, they didn't announce whether it's going to be like a mini series or not, but the potential there, if it is something more like a mini series or a one season series, that usually means they have a clear, you know, goal in mind with the story, or they have a clear arc plan. So, you know, I'd be down for that. But it's also good that we don't know that much. I mean, obviously we're going to know a lot more before it really starts going in production, but it's kind of nice to have just a completely clean slate. I said I had cautious optimism, but at the same time, I mean, they could be giving me anything when it finally hits air. So it's exciting.
For me, there's like a lot of competing. It's almost like the two sides of your brain trying to compete here. We've got, obviously, you know, there's a big emphasis, especially from Jaime, on character development and the human element, and just the interesting stories you could tell through the humans. And I think there's a lot to be said. Again, Jaime, I'm going to keep kind of throwing you up there. Sorry. But, you know, and hearing what you guys are talking about, like with Wayland, and you got the whistleblower show, and you've got the behind the scenes, you've got basically Alien West Wing. You've got lobbyists working to get these things, this type of research or development, or just diabolical schemes, you know, passed and through various areas of government. And you've got an endless well, I think, of just amazing storytelling. But then I think you do have this competing interest of, I mean, it's Alien. And I've said before, I mean, one of my favorite draws to it is the xenomorph. And you'd want to show that, for me, there's the two parts again. There's Alien and there's Aliens. Both are amazing, but they're two different things. You have Alien, where there's just, it's the creature, it's the mystery, it's the weird dancing of this thing. You're like, what the fuck is this thing doing? Versus swarms and just the full out, you know, guns to the wall of aliens, which is also amazing. But I think for me, just hearing even the Earth part makes me worried, because I go a lot to what Derek has said, and, you know, what Michael was saying about the comics. And I mean, how quickly could this season be over? I mean, an alien on Earth, especially if it's more than one, and there's some form to reproduce, the whole Earth is gone in no time. I mean, you have Covenant, which is this entire world. There's nothing left. There's some spores, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, how much really content can you have if there are actual xenomorphs running around on Earth with any way to create or anything like that? So, and my big worry is because it's Disney, and you've got the Marvel movies, you've got the Star Wars movies, and you've got this sort of now endless budget to sort of create the sea of aliens. I think just hearing the Earth part really wants me to hope that and this is all again coming from the hip. This is the first time I heard the Earth part. Makes me worried that all of a sudden it's just nameless aliens. You've got the Star Trek red shirt aliens just running around, CGI waves getting mauled down, and there's no reverence. There's no actual fear. It's just, hey, don't go outside, or you got the walkers. You got like a Walking Dead sea of aliens out there. It's a horde. Okay, I really do like what you guys are talking about regarding this is the time when they start developing it. You've got people. We don't even need to see an alien for a long time, but I think they could still bring in our love of the alien in discussions about it through journals, through research, through glimpses. I don't know. I'll kind of get off now. I'm starting to ramble, but I mean, I do see a much better realm through a personal story, through a story that again will sort of bring the xenomorph back into this sort of reverence and sort of mythical being, more so than just the endless waves. So that's kind of my initial thought to this. I would love, again, West Wing aliens. How are these lobbyists going to convince the general public that we should fund some new research when we're all trying to get our $600 stimulus checks? But you're going to spend billions to go find some stupid egg and stick your face in it. So I don't know. That's my initial thoughts.
I'll jump in.
No, good.
Patrick, you're mute.
Making it very 2020 relevant. I appreciate that.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that there's a couple of things, like everyone else, I'm concerned that it's an Earth setting. I think there's only so much you can do on Earth. We've seen oh no, they're overtaking the Earth. I mean, Jurassic Park, I think the next Jurassic World movie is they're overtaking Earth. So I think we kind of can expect what's going to happen in that movie. So I'm also nervous about that. I don't know what you can do in an Earth setting that isn't, oh, look, they've escaped, run, but pulling back from that, and Patrick and I have discussed this ad infinitum, make the aliens scary, make the characters good. I'm sold. And I hope it's not set in the USA, to be honest with you. I don't want, we have too much baggage, Independence Day, all that bullshit. Not that it wasn't fun to watch. But I really hope but at the same time, it's still so say if it's not set in the USA, what if it's set in like a CDC type thing? But we've seen that too. So but then how does it, I've been playing these scenarios out in my head since this has been announced. Well, what could they do? Say a satellite brought something back. Oh, we've seen that too, though. Oh, look, it brought something back. What is it? Oh no, we've seen that. Or say there's astronauts who got something from another planet and they came back. We've seen that too. So what can they do? I really don't know what they're going to do. That's going to be wholly original, but I know that Noah Hawley could probably figure that out. And he went through what Alien is to him. He said, if you take the aliens out, what is the story about? It's about people that are trapped. It's about people in their darkest hour. And he said, if you figure that out and you throw the aliens back in, there's your story. And I think he's correct. But to Michael, was that your point? We've seen everything. It's in a ship, it's on a planet, it's on a space station, whether it's in the comics or whether it's in the show. Even, the last two prequels have been, oh, look, a derelict, don't go in there, we're going in there, infection. I mean, how many times are we going to see these same things over and over? We haven't seen them on Earth. I also don't, but we did see AVP Requiem, unfortunately, and they're on Earth, and it's ridiculous. Not that Noah Hawley would even be close to.
Could you
that
imagine if
garbage.
after this he comes out with a fucking Alien Resurrection style? I'd be like, what?
They hire who are the guys?
This is
who
what
did
he was
the-
lobbying for.
Who are the guys who did Requiem? I can't remember their names.
Anodyne. What is it?
Curly and Moe.
the brother Strauss. The brother
Strauss. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Watch them be hired for like to direct an episode.
The pilot.
You know,
Comeback story.
I gotta be honest, like I'm definitely like of the alien camp of like the mythic, what is this thing, the mystery, the mystique, all that. But they promised the action of aliens, and as we're talking this through, I'm getting like kind of excited about like the John Connor version of like episode 1, half the earth is gone, like we are like dwindling. I don't know, it could be cool, it could be exciting. No, Jamie's shaking his head. No,
Whatever, I'm just giving you shit.
That makes me run into like Jim from The Office, like the silent movie where it's like, we're inside our house, and there's an alien scratching our door. Like,
That's a good movie.
There will be no standing house if xenomorphs are on the earth. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like there is no, so there can't be the I'm gonna go get some gas. I hope I make it. Like no, like. So the Earth setting. The more I'm sitting here, and again, that's fun that this is the first time, but I'm having a lot of trepidation. If there can't be a xenomorph on Earth, and please, all the resurrection talk has me going, and it makes me think of kind of Cold Forge. Not to compare the two, because Cold Forge I loved. But Earth aliens make me start to think of like they're gonna learn stuff and they're gonna open doors and all of a sudden you got, like no, just I don't know.
How could they cook the eggs, man? They're animals.
No, the funny thing
you
is
opened a restaurant.
They've turned capitalist.
No, that's right. Like, so we're all fans of the series. But I know for myself one thing. The one thing that I have forever wanted to see, one of my favorite comic books that it was in Alien's Newt's Tale, you actually got to see what happened to the colony. Okay, like we've never actually in a movie, we've seen the aftermath. We've seen what would be the beginning of it, but we've never actually seen what would honestly happen if all hell breaks loose. Like, where does it start? Did it start with, okay, so you start with that kind of a plan, and then from there you go with, okay, so Wayland's now involved with it. Okay, they know there's an outbreak, but they're not going to say anything about an outbreak. They want to see how fast this can spread through colony. Do they have this colony somewhere on Earth, as in like, say, middle of nowhere? You're out in the outskirts of China, Russia, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, that they have this what they think is a controlled area, and they're sitting back testing. They have live people that they're just destroying some city, some village, and basically sitting back and watching, studying what's happening. And that's that sort of downtrodden kind of way that they work. Life's expendable, everything's expendable, to them. But like, I know for a fact, the one thing in all the Alien series that I would have loved to have seen was the actual events that happened at Hadley's Hope, and seen how the first one happened, where it went from there, not coming into where the place is destroyed, but actually seeing, and there's your characters. I mean, you can put people involved in that. Have we seen that in other kind of movies? To a point, yeah, but to actually build characters where you have your, that's what made Aliens was having Ripley, having Newt, having Hicks, the ones that you got behind, the ones that you could relate to. Like, holy crap, we're in the middle of a hellstorm right now, and what do we do? So you take those people that are just everyday Joes that are just working normal jobs, and the next thing you know, they're in the middle of just Armageddon. That to me is a working scenario of how this could work on Earth. Here goes again the company. Oh, we're just going to start this in a small area in the middle of nowhere. Well, the next minute it's in this, and that runs, unfortunately, that runs right into the status of 2020. That would hit so hard that it's, you don't even realize how quickly that whole scenario can just explode. But like, that's just my 2 cents. I just think seeing the actual from start. That first person that comes in with a face hugger on, from when that all goes wrong, and it just rips through a whole city. I mean, and
I
then,
think
like
you're
I said,
absolutely right. Outbreak is the
that would be
word.
my thinking. Yeah, an outbreak, exactly.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
agree. And I think if they approached it, if they used in part the model based off how we as a society right now are dealing with an outbreak, we're fucked. Like we're dead, all of us,
Yeah.
maybe not all of us. I think it's interesting. If and I feel like they're setting it in the near future possibly for that reason, to say, well, how would humanity deal with this? But again, it's divisive. And back to an original point, and I think all the Wayland stuff is interesting, but I don't want I would rather them not even touch Wayland or anything that we know. I'd rather completely new story with new people, maybe some, like they do some, you hear some words, some names here and there, but I feel like as a fandom, we need a complete separation from all of that. So he can be free to tell whatever story he wants to tell without having to use Charles or Peter, whichever one. I don't know which one is it
Peter.
from Prometheus? Peter.
Peter.
Okay. But not to say that even if they did use Wayland and Yutani or whatever, I think Hawley is brilliant enough where he could do an amazing job of it. So I'm certainly willing to see whatever he offers us.
Yeah, I think what we need is a Mandalorian moment. And I know somebody was saying that. I apologize. I've only heard about 1 out of every 8 words, but I reset my router, so I know now I can catch up on things. Somebody was mentioning Mandalorian. To me, that's the approach that we need, is something that takes place in parallel to and can kind of just interface with elements we recognize from the canonical films, but won't. Because here's the thing. It's like Prometheus takes place in 2093. Covenant takes place in 2104, right? You have this little period of time there between those where the events of, I think Chase was mentioning this, Alien Origins, the prequel novel, takes place, right? That Alan Dean Foster came up with. And that is the only thing we've had so far, which has been basically a xenomorphless Earth set alien story, about basically organizational breakdown. And although we adore Alan Dean Foster, and I was just talking to him this afternoon, he's coming on the show, so I want to make sure it's clear that we love Alan Dean Foster. That was not a huge hit in fandom, that particular novel, because it was missing a lot of the elements that I think we look for when we look for, alien stories. And again, the basic gist of that is that before the Covenant took off, this religious kind of sect came about, and it tried to derail the plans because they felt like, for various reasons, that Armageddon was appropriate and that this should be the end and that life shouldn't continue as we knew it. And it had this whole mythology built around it, but it didn't resonate with me as an Alien fan because it didn't feel like a work of art set in the Alien universe. I think going back to something that Michael was talking about, I'm very excited about the idea of something similar to the events in Prey, the video game. I don't know if anybody's played that fucking awesome video game Prey before. There's by Bethesda. So, in that game, they're studying there's an orbital space station. They bring back a life form, and the life form is way more advanced than they realized. And it overruns this research facility, and everything goes to shit really, really quickly. And it's very frightening. I think something like that could really work. And I agree with what others have said and what I've heard of what others have said, which is that I think that this should not necessarily be very dependent on the xenomorph as an entity in and of itself. I think that this is something that, like, if it's kept a little bit freer from canon, I think would be a good thing. But I think that the basic ideas of infection and paranoia and outbreak and body horror and terror, I think those are things you can pretty much patch onto anything that has decent characters and a good setting into it. And so I think that when I look at what Noah Hawley has done, and again, the only things that I know of his have been Fargo seasons 1 through 4 and Legion. What I do know of those is that he's really good at taking very strange, kind of self-contained settings and going wild with it, and having this whole universe unfold in very closed environments. And I think that, like, if anybody knows how to do that, it's him. So I personally really trust him with this. And I do think, going back to something that Jaime was alluding to, I think that there is a reason why Disney circled back around to him, because as we knew, this was something that was already on the radar back last November, at least, right, where he was interviewed about what could have been, and he was like, oh, I had this great idea and I pitched it and it didn't really go anywhere, right? And then all of a sudden now it's back. I think what he wrote, or what he was thinking, does map onto what has happened in this crazy fucking year that we've been surviving. I think that this does speak to our current moment, and I think Disney, which can smell profit anywhere it puts its nose is like, oh, wait a minute, this is something that will resonate right now. Why don't we circle back to Noah Hawley? He just finished the season of Fargo. It was a big hit again. Maybe he's got the availability in his schedule, and they worked it out. So I think that he has something to say that speaks to our current moment. And I personally think that it does have to do with contagion, and it does have to do with bureaucratic breakdown. I don't think it has to do with the xenomorph per se. I think it probably has to do with things that presage the xenomorph. I think this is something that does take place significantly before 2093. I think this is pre-Prometheus. I think this is something that is honestly in 20 years from now or something. And I think that could be so cool to see play out.
We will see an alien, I think, by the end of it. But
yeah,
I'd love to see, and I'd hope, Patrick, from what you were saying and what kept popping in my head is the boardroom scene at the beginning of Aliens, and just a lot of here's either someone who has experienced this. I still think keeping the xenomorphs off Earth. Michael, I love that idea. And either if they're going to do it, just go full, as Patrick would say, just go full ass. Just no half ass and just full ass. It's just
both fucking cheeks. Just put both cheeks right into it.
Put both cheeks and stick a xenomorph right up it, and just have that. But then if you're not going to do that, if you're not just going to fully dedicate yourself to just all out xenomorph chomping, then Earth could be the setting of the boardroom, of the hiding it, to a lot of, again, to going to current events, you have protests, you have something out there happening to a group of people maybe not everyone really cares about. You have people who've colonized somewhere and things are going. It could even be Hadley's Hope, which would be a good way to tie it in. But how do you explain that then? What's been going on Earth to explain away how these people either disappeared? Why don't they matter? Why aren't more people in the streets protesting the fact that I knew someone on Hadley's Hope and now I can't get a hold of them. I don't know what's going on. And so a lot of that would do it. But I'd love the whole sort of bureaucracy, and again, just the mention. And we're gonna do it all through this episode. Jamie's favorite thing to do is talk about Star Wars on Perfect Organism. But there's moments I think of Rogue One when there's mention of Jedi, and they sound so much fucking cooler than they ever actually were on screen. And you have people talking about how it was. And I think they could do a lot with that with the xenomorph as well. You don't necessarily have to throw it in there and have a bunch of CGI.
Yes, but it has the action of aliens. So all the board members have pulse rifles.
Yes.
Of course.
That's how it'll work.
Right, and that's how you could do it. I mean, go back to a bunch of body cam stuff. Show the colonies or whatever you're trying to the information you're trying to suppress. Do it through security cam footage. Do it through body cam footage. Do it through.
Ooh, the body cam footage is a good idea.
Just don't bring them to Earth. Don't bring the pets. Don't domesticate them. That's all I'm saying. I could be wrong and whatever, but I just keep going back to that.
That's an awesome idea. I mean, can you imagine right now how big social media is? So it's one of these things where these guys get like body cams and there's scenes and someone's trying to release it and then another group is trying to keep it quiet. And that's an awesome idea. Very cool.
Guys, I think we should pitch it.
That's right.
Let's
we have
do
a chance.
it. Jamie, you write it up. We'll just spitball it.
Disney's like, we'll greenlight it. I don't care. We'll make anything right now. It doesn't matter.
No, I think it would be really cool. I love obviously everything, whatever it is, good characters, and it has to be scary. Jamie, I'm all behind you on that. It would be great, Peter, like your idea from the boardroom to like hope all you guys have seen the movie Ex Machina or Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
Yeah. Where
Great movie.
We got frame rate on that. Yeah.
Love that movie so much. And I just it'd be cool to see like, okay, we see this level of whether it's connected to Wayland or not, but you see the boardroom level and then you see like you have this main character, because I would love it to go several seasons, but you have somebody testing something or like in this, because that was on Earth, but not, it was like in this testing facility and just like something like that where something goes wrong. So then you have that going wrong, but then maybe the whole Hadley's Hope perspective of it too, and that's where you get like your hard characters in there that are going to be solid throughout a good amount of seasons and storyline. Yeah, I would just love to see something to that effect, because even though in Ex Machina, like the robots, right, like, and there wasn't anything scary about the robot itself specifically, but the end, just the twist at the whole end, dude, I was blown away by that ending, and I love that movie for that. But yeah, it would just be cool to see something like that, and then maybe like Michael, they connect it, like season 2 is maybe connecting into that overrun outbreak. But yeah, I agree. Don't bring the alien into it right away, and keep the majestic, the Gaulic, the magnificent looking. Keep that in there, you know.
Totally.
Whether it's
like,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
All I was going to say is whether it's Hadley's Hope or not, I'd be very surprised if there wasn't some tether to space, like in some way, like maybe not even throughout the whole show, but like the entire thing on Earth. If it's good, it's good. I don't care, but I'd be surprised. I mean, you know, again, I'm very excited. It's all positivity here, but you know, that's part of the hopelessness and the nihilism of Alien, I think, is that like you're also just in the abyss, like the literal abyss of space. And like just for an example, I remember showing my girlfriend back when I was like 19. I was like, oh, Alien's on. She's like, what's that? And I told her, and the chest burster scene was coming. I was like, oh man, watch this part. So we watched it, and then that part kind of grossed her out. But when Kane gets ejected into space, that's when she was like, can we turn this off? And you know what I mean? That's powerful. So like, and also, you know, I think there's a version of this show where episode 1 is like something crash lands, like something comes down for, you know, and it starts there, or the first face hugger, you know, patient 0 type thing. Go ahead, Jamie. Sorry about that.
No, I think that's very interesting. What it reminds me of is, what did we see in the beginning of Prometheus? That ship fucking coming to Earth and seeding Earth, and that thing fell in the water. What else did it release in the water? I mean, the setup's already there if they wanted to reconfigure it a little bit. But to that moment that freaked out your girlfriend, I as we were talking, I keep thinking, well, what about Alien scares us the most? Confusion and the silence. They're totally unprepared for what they're about to what they discovered and how they handle it. And there's so much silence. And that's the part of that film that to me is more scary than the creature itself, is they're all sitting there like, well, what do we do? What do we do? And nobody knows what to do. They're trying a few things. And so then Kane is gone. And it's just the silence of their own fear. That's why, for me, that's why Alien is so powerful. And why Alien 3 is also powerful, where that fear has come home for Ripley, and it's the end of the line for her, literally. It's the end of the line for her. But I also think that Noah Hawley probably understands that. It's just the mechanics of it that I can't figure it out.
In Aliens as well. I mean, if he's really taking notes from Aliens, there's so much quiet in that movie. Like
there is,
you know, it's like an hour before. Yeah. They're just creeping around, like they're going, like I only really noticed it when I was watching it with friends who hadn't seen it, and they are waiting for something to pop out for like an hour, and it's just quiet. They're creeping through labs and all this stuff. So I agree. I hope that's like a huge part of it. It's got to be, you know, that. Yeah.
I think a great case study in why and what Jamie's talking about is Isolation, which I'm playing for the 3,000th time right now. I
just started it, Patrick.
Oh yeah, for the first time?
Yes.
Oh
yeah.
Dude, I'm so excited for
Amazing.
you, Barry.
Dude,
let me know what you think.
I shit my pants every time. I have to like work myself up to wanting to start to where I left off. Anyway, go ahead.
It's so scary. But the reason it's scary, it's not when the alien's there. It's not even when the Working Joes are there or anything. It's not even when you're getting chased by a bunch of, you know, flaming raincoat, you know, encrusted Working Joes. Like those moments that are like set pieces aren't scary to me. It's the moments where like I'm just fucking waiting for something to happen, and I just don't know how it's going to happen, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to move from this fucking corner that I've been in for 5 minutes, and I really don't know if that's okay, and then you go out the corner and like her knee hit something, and you're like, oh my god, right? But it wasn't actually the alien, it was just my knee, but it was so scary. And that subtle tension is so great, and part of why I think specifically, I know we're not here to talk about isolation, but part of why it works so well in isolation is because the Sevastopol is an alien environment, right? Because the Sevastopol is a derelict in motion, essentially, right? It's the semi-abandoned, broken space flotsam and jetsam, basically, that we're trapped on in this awkward moment because the thing we were crossing broke down. And I feel like it's such a weird feeling to walk around those hallways because it sounds like a living creature, and it sounds like you look around and it should be something that it's not. And then as you experience the environment in real time, you realize like, oh, there's a lot more going on here than I knew at the outset, and what else is happening. The thing with Earth, as many of you were saying very wisely, I think, is that it's really hard to capture that because it's not an alien environment to us. Of course, there are things on Earth that are, right? We've only explored 10% of the ocean. There's plenty of places, in Myanmar that we don't know about. There's plenty of things around the world that would feel potentially alien. Iceland looks like an alien planet, right? But I think to do that would be to do a disservice to what he's trying to do, which is to set it on Earth. If you put it on Earth and you put it in an alien thing in Earth, then why not just put it in an alien environment, right? The trick, I think, is that uncanny valley thing that you can capitalize on when you take something very known and you transmogrify it into something frightening. So I don't know why I'm bringing up video games so much, but Silent Hill has always been something very close to my heart. And part of why I love those games so much is because they take place in that liminal spot where something really, really familiar can suddenly become really, really frightening if you look at it the wrong way. And to me, like, that's what Noah Hawley can get. If he wants to set this on Earth, make Earth itself something frightening to us. Make it something we're confused about. Make it something disorienting. Because in any of the films, and Aliens, I think, is very much included in this, the scariest moments are usually the moments where we can't tell. Like Jamie was saying, we can't tell what we're looking at. We can't tell what's happening. And that space right there, I think, is a sweet spot for the type of horror that Alien can conjure. Whether it's what we can't tell what's happening to our body, we can't tell what's happening with this organism, we can't tell what it wants, we can't tell where it's coming from, we can't tell what gender it is, we can't tell where if we're going to survive, we can't tell if we're going to be ovomorphed, we can't tell any of this shit, right? So I think that's the big challenge, and that's why I think a lot of us cringed a little bit about the Earth setting thing, because of course it's been done a few times now, and we've never enjoyed it, especially with the Predator stuff. But also in the comics, for the most part, when they've gone to Earth in the comics, I found that not quite as enjoyable either. So anyway, that being said, I think it's a hell of a challenge. Somebody else was going to say something. I'm sorry.
I agree with you, Patrick. Exactly. Honestly, you and I are on the same wavelength right there. I know for myself, and it's so funny to reference other movies. We've all done it because we find bits and pieces for that. I've always found so one of the movies that scares the crap out of me just for the environment is the movie. It's called The Descent.
Oh God, fucking great
movie.
movie! Oh my God, that's so scary.
So there's a part in that movie where the girl is climbing through a hole and her book bag gets caught. I find myself at home literally holding my breath, and like my wife will look over me. She'll be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I can't breathe. Like I can't breathe. I'm in this moment right now, and it just freaks me out." So I think it's funny how if it's a deep ocean, say it's a movie about the deep ocean, and something goes wrong, the first thing everybody tries to do is get to the surface. Okay. Then you have a movie that takes place in space. Everybody wants to get out of where they're at and get back to land. So what happens when you set a movie or set the series on Earth and you can't go anywhere? Every other time you do something, you're escaping to get back to somewhere. If something happens in the ocean, you want to get back to the surface. If something happens in a space station, we have to get off a space station, get back down to Earth. Well, now what happens when Earth is it's where it's at? Now, where do you go? And like and that just that feeling, because like if it's a movie, The Abyss is a great movie. That feeling, like I know when I watch that, I'm constantly thinking, like, the whole time you pull yourself in because you're just thinking like, I can't go out. Like, and that's the worst part of those movies. And even Alien, that's the best part about Alien. There's a creature on the ship, where do we go? Like, we have nowhere to go. That it's outside, there's nowhere to go.
That's
So
why you could
yeah,
start it with the aliens had already been taken over.
So I
Here's
just
another
think
part, too.
yeah, it'd be so cool if it's like, I mean, that makes the Earth the best part of that whole thing is the fact there's nowhere to go. What are you going to do? You're going to jump on spaceships and take off, or where are you going to go? and that the Earth seems to be like always seems to be like the home point where everybody's trying to get back to for that security, and then when all of a sudden that security blanket is the problem, where do you go?
Mm.
You know,
Well, you
it's
take them.
just,
You know,
ugh.
we've got a pretty good Midwest contingent here tonight with Perry and Derek, up in Minnesota. And why not? You know, we've already got the writer and guy from Fargo. I mean, throw them in the plains. I mean, one of my first connections with Jamie and Patrick was I drive a lot for my job in rural areas, and so I'm always going through just blank fields. You know, in the winter it's flat, and in the summer it's corn. And you know, I'm always listening to either Perfect Organism or Shoulder of Orion. And you know, I'm sitting there daydreaming while listening to everyone. And how many times have I, you know, seen a xenomorph climbing on a barn or in the middle of a field somewhere, and talk about not being able to hide. I mean, you've got nothing but freaking miles of just plain plains, and you've got, you know, xenomorph. And so I'd see that. Throw them on, but they got to be, throw them in the Great Plains, throw them in the Great Midwest. You got some
Lots of
accent.
guns.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You've already got it built
Guns and
in. We don't
barns.
even need pulse rifles, guys. I mean, this year alone, gun sales have gone insane.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone here, there's like 20, so you got it. It would be good. So,
You know, I just want to say just briefly,
that could
very
be
briefly,
dope.
there's a scene in Vincent Ward's rejected script for Alien 3 that is an alien chasing people in a cornfield. So it works great in that setting. So you never know.
Joss Whedon recycled that in a version for Alien Resurrection, where there's a whole level that was like a farm level, and the aliens are running through the fields. Killing
Oh, that's
people off,
right. Oh, yeah,
which
yeah,
they didn't
yeah,
film
yeah,
for
yeah.
budgetary
Oh,
reasons.
man.
He's
But
like,
I
hear me
think-
out, hear me out. Basketball, cornfield.
It's diverse.
But
got
one
some big
one
John Deere
interesting-
equipment. You're just driving right through them.
Well, there's a whole sequence with the tractor and the alien.
I mean, Ripley drives a
No
tractor in the
shit.
second one. It's just, you know,
Sure.
It's writing itself, guys. This is writing itself.
Well, I think
I was gonna say if it's on Earth, they escape and they just wind up and they find themselves on the Betty and those things, and they just know that they're gonna be the face suckers are gonna come on them. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Wow, a
Well,
lead
I
into
think-
Alien Resurrection. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was his whole
It goes
pitch.
all the way to 2400 or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my
Right.
God. Well, I think one interesting point is that I don't know. I was lost in the woods once when I was 15, and it was fucking scary. And it's a very familiar setting that then becomes completely. It almost turns into your enemy. You don't know where to go. You're lost. You don't know. It becomes something very terrifying. So Earth, much like we hear stories all the time of whether it's the Donner Party or the expedition that the Terror was based off of, where it's very familiar territory because it's Earth and we're all familiar with it becoming your worst nightmare. So I think there is potential.
Roanoke colony, something like that.
Yeah. Where I mean, the thing is, set in Antarctica, and there's nobody around except for this small group of scientists or whatever doing, their research, and it's terrifying. Nothing. What looked like what was once the day before, oh, look at that beautiful landscape, the snow or in the mountains, then becomes we're trapped. We have nowhere to go. We don't know where this thing is. But that's also tricky too, because we have seen that before.
AVP.
Yeah.
Another
But look how
time.
cool the setting
Better
was.
Prometheus, yes.
What was the which one of the Planet of the Apes? The newer ones took place. There was one where there's that whole battle scene that's in like the Redwood Forest.
The last one? Yes.
I think
that's
it's the
good.
final one. I think it's the third one.
Yeah, those
Like,
Dawn
that
of the
was-
Rise of the Battle of
and
the
it's
Planet
just
of the
it's
Apes.
so it's dark. that I think that scene was awesome. I mean, that's
Yeah, it was fucking
great-
awesome. I love that scene.
Jamie, I mean, I think
I
think
loved
you
it.
hit on it. It's
Oh,
that
yeah.
dark, like you don't know if you turn around. 'Cause that's the one thing they tell you about people, and that's why people go crazy when they get lost in the woods because there's no direction.
Yeah.
I mean, so imagine something where you're stuck in the middle of, like we'll guarantee like California, where like you're in the Redwood Forest and you have no idea which way you're going. You know something's in there, but you have no idea how to get around it, where you're going, up, down, left, right. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden, I think they did that with Predator effectively. So I don't know if they could do that because it would make the aliens. It's hard to think of an idea of that they would pursue where we have not seen a version of it before. I assume when it drops, we don't know when the release date is. I would imagine either end of next year or sometime in 2022.
Probably 2022. Yeah.
I would imagine it's going to be somewhat familiar to us. It's going to be something but it's not going to matter if we're in, if there's characters that we believe in, if the alien is scary or whatever. And I love the idea of what you were saying, Patrick, like the board meeting, the discussions where oftentimes, and if we think about, and we've had this discussion on our shows before, the idea of who was the real alien in this show. Was it Weyland-Yutani or was it the actual creature? Because Weyland-Yutani was pretty nefarious. I mean, if you think about conglomerates and businesses, they've done some pretty horrible fucking things to humanity. Weyland-Yutani sent that ship to the derelict. They are the ones who are controlling everything. So who's the real enemy there? Was it the alien just trying to survive? Or was it Weyland-Yutani just trying to bring it back? So if you have that same sort of nefarious idea happening, I don't know, whatever story they come up with, if it is Weyland-Yutani, and they're a big business, and they're like, we don't care. We don't care. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, or that it was based off of a true story called Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo, where he plays a lawyer, and he's going after DuPont. And when things start coming out about what DuPont has done, my jaw was on the floor. What they allow, I mean, women having disfigured babies because they've been working with the materials that go into non-stick, and DuPont's not saying a word, but quietly taking these women and moving them to other positions, saying, oh, everything is fine. And then you had like 6 or 7 women all having children that either died or they had strange disfigurement. You throw that type of conglomerate terror in an alien film, oh my God,
it even goes to yeah, you just look to the news again, bringing it back to 2020, and hopefully that's kind of what, like Patrick said, inspired them to try this again. Is, I mean, you look to the conditions that workers have had throughout COVID, or during the protests or anything, and you look to, I mean, there's cases right now where there's executives at plants who are taking bets on how many of their workers are going to get COVID and die. I mean, talk about being disoriented. You don't have to throw yourself in the woods. Just throw yourself into your daily life and who you are putting your trust in and who we believe is looking out for our best interests. And I mean, that's, I think, some of the darkest moments any of us maybe have had this year is, once for a second you realize your family's safe for at least the immediate time. It's like, well, who's leading us? Who are we putting our trust in? And so I like, Jamie, that hits pretty well too.
Well, then I also think of things like Agent Orange or the Tuskegee Airmen and the
Radium Girls.
Yeah,
I was
going to say Radium Girls too, Match. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's an incredible one.
And so you have all this experimentation going on kind of under cloud of night, but not really. And so they could sort of watch what happens. How are they affected? There's even that story of the triplets from New York City where there are 3 identical triplets and they're all split up at birth. To see how they would grow up. It was just an experiment. But you had a company at doing this to other human beings. Humanity is the scariest really component of all of this. So hopefully Hawley picks up on that. I'm sure he does. Hopefully I'm not giving him too much credit either. I mean, I love what he's done, but
they'd be fools to ignore
my hopes
that
are really
at this
high.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, they have almost a responsibility to do that. I have to say one of my moments from 2020 that I'll never forget was, I think, in the Ian Holm episode, the memorial episode, where we were talking about, with Jamie, we were having this conversation about like, like the alien wasn't really the threat, like the alien was just doing what it does. It was really the company. And then in the context of talking about that, I was like, look at the company in relation to 2020 and what's happening in the real world. Like the companies would barely even register as being nefarious, let alone this like evil entity, because there are hundreds of thousands of people dying from this thing, and things have been obfuscated and lied about, and things have been hidden from people, and things have been politicized, and things have been just spun out of control for various financial interests and for profiteering and for all these just terrible things. And this is not political. This is just a statement of fact that this has been weaponized in a lot of ways for private interest. And that after the events of 2020, I will never look at, like, I'll never be naive again, which is sort of a sad thing, So I do think that has to color this somehow. And I'm also thinking about this like specific feeling that I'm having in 2020 a lot, which goes to something Derek was mentioning earlier, which I'll get around to in a second, Derek. which is that like, I was talking earlier about how you can kind of take the familiar on Earth, and if you can do something where it kind of just flips upside down, it becomes frightening. I think we're all living with that right now. At least I'm speaking for myself. Like for me, very minor, very comfortable things that I took for granted for the entire other 34 years of my life are completely out of the window now. Like I can't walk past other people without thinking if that's potentially dangerous. I don't want to like laugh loudly in public, let alone aspirate through my mask and I unwittingly kill somebody. Like just these very simple things have become kind of like low grade frightening for me this year, to the point where today, as I was mentioning to Jamie before we recorded, I'm currently quarantining from my wife, who's a medical worker, who got a fever this morning and was sent home. She's appears to be fine. She's taken 2 tests, but now we're going to sleep apart. I haven't seen her. She's been in a mask in our own house. And it's fucking terrifying because I would really love to be able to still see at least my side of the family, if not both sides of our family, for the end of the year. And it's probably not going to happen now. Right. So like, and that's just a very minor thing. Everybody's okay. We're all safe and we're all fine, but it's fucking scary as hell. And I could potentially, if we don't play this correctly, kill my dad who has a breathing disorder. Like I could potentially be responsible for that. And that is a really concrete, small example of how I think something very familiar, fucking Christmas, has become terrifying in some ways for many of us this year, right? We're facing real moral decisions about what it's acceptable to do right now. And that I think is scary. And so going back to what Derek was saying in the beginning, I also dream about xenomorphs all the time. Like that's something that I've done for much of my life. It's something Aaron Percival and I have actually talked about in the past. We both used to have a lot of nightmares about it when we were kids, and we kind of realized that might be part of why we like it, And I when I dream about xenomorphs, I always dream about them in my house, and I don't know why. And it's not my current house; it's the house I grew up in. They're always in my childhood home.
The murder house.
And yeah. Okay. The thing, I don't live in a murder house. I live next to a town away from a house that is currently featured on HBO's on a murder documentary on HBO, which is very good. It's called Murder on Middle Beach. I recommend it. Anyway,
Murder in the Greenhouse.
It's not the greenhouse. But when I was a kid, I always because I think it's because that's where those things imprinted on me, in a deep way. So my nightmares were in that home, and still to this day, as a dad and somebody who like has a job and is at least kind of an adult in a house that I bought, with my wife, like I'm still dreaming about being trapped as a child in my parents' house, knowing there's a xenomorph and not knowing where it's coming from, and kind of enjoying that fear, like kind of like reveling in that fear. And that's, to a small degree, what I feel every single day of my life now, because I feel like my house isn't sacred anymore. Like there's something that could potentially get in and could get us, and by virtue of doing that, get our family, that my kids could be endangered by it. So I think that there are ways for Hawley to pull this off on Earth. And I think there's something to that domiciliary safety that we take for granted, of just what it means to be at home and be safe. When that's taken away from us, when our home isn't really safe anymore, what that feels like. And to me, it feels terrifying. But Derek, what you said resonated with me about that.
And that everyone is possibly a threat to you. That it reminds me of the alien world, where who's carrying it? Is your mask tight enough? Should you, are you too close in line? Why isn't their mask over their nose? All of those things that we deal with on a daily basis remind me of
And Jamie, it goes a lot to what you always talk about too. Some of your favorite scenes, at least that always stick in my head of you describing, and they make it stick out even more in my head, are, the Ripley scene in Alien. She's the only one following the quarantine. She's following the rules. She's going by the standard. I'm sorry. You're a crew member that I've spent a lot of time with, Patrick. You're sorry. You're a family member, but here are the rules. We got to go by it. And then someone breaks it. Or in Covenant, Jamie, you really stuck this one in my head too, was, she takes the gloves off after the backburster scene. She's as she's walking out of the ship, she's like, wait a sec, okay, here's it's again, like Patrick keeps going to, and everyone's just this is really fun, that everyone just kind of keeps hitting it. It's those ordinary things. And my big hope, again, it's the dual side. I think I'd love for Hawley to show, it's sort of just the Chase, what you were talking about. You didn't really have people to talk about, but obviously you were onto something even by yourself in loving this franchise and loving these ideas. Patrick dreams about it. There's something where you want to have other people realize this is a story. these are universal things that we feel fear, and the places that they come from. That I want this series to show that the Alien franchise can be that. It can be this cerebral thing. There's part of me that wants to just be like, see, look, we've been right all along. Sort of classic like nerd revenge thing. But at the same time, there's also something that I think we've learned from this year, if more than anything, and this call thankfully is giving me that too, that we also just need a release. And so if all they're going to do is fucking unload some pulse rivals on just waves of aliens, I'm here for it too, because we just fucking need that too.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, when I got this, when Jamie sent me the invite for this call, it was just like, fuck, yes, I need this at the end of the year. Just sitting here talking about this. So at the same time, this can be, I think there is a responsibility. There are stories that they should tell about this year. But at the same time, if it's just fucking unloading on a bunch of aliens and they're all screaming the weird elephant screams, we need that too. So just walk the line somehow. I don't know how to do it, but so anyways, that was kind of my thought.
Well said, Peter.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting that this could be the real chance for Alien to kind of blow up, because it's not quite niche, but at the same time, it's, you know, it's never been like when Ridley Scott was kind of going off in an interview in the past couple of years. He said, "Oh, it should be as big as Star Wars." I mean, maybe it never really has, or maybe it shouldn't per se. But then again, with the timing of a pandemic like COVID, with a guy like Noah Hawley, who Patrick said he knows how to really stretch ideas and get weird within like a certain contained idea or story, and this could be the perfect chance to kind of show to where it's more accessible to everyone, instead of just being, oh, that's another Alien movie that's coming out, we're going to see the chest burster. Because, you know, Covenant, it was just kind of, it's been lackadaisical recently to, you know, anyone outside of the main fandom. So this is an interesting chance, actually. And they can get weird with it too, having Holly. I mean, between this and then the supposed synopsis for that Predator movie that they supposedly greenlit, you know, franchises like this, we were worried about in the acquisition whether or not they're going to be watered down, or they're going to try to only do aliens action stuff to, you know, bring kids in. This could be their chance to really get wild with it, but still bring in the bigger audiences and make the money.
And just super briefly on that, Chase, the fact that this is on FX specifically on Hulu on Disney is the clearest indication we have, other than Noah Hawley being attached to it. The fact that they chose to put this out not on Disney Plus, which I think none of us expected. Most of us were saying this would be a Hulu series, right?
Mhm.
But Hulu, of course, now has this acquired partnership with FX, and the fact that they put it on FX, which is all pretty edgy content, I think is very clearly a way to say, no, this is not going to be that kind of like popcorn crowd pleasing thing. It's going to be something that's going to push some buttons and probably like offend some people, but it's going to be interesting. And it's going to be kind of
Let's
hard-edged.
go.
Let's piss people.
Hey, Derek, is your
Say
microphone
something.
working? I saw your. Hold on. Now try and unmute. No, we can't hear you.
You can
That's
hold.
weird.
I don't know if you've ever seen Love Actually, but you can do that thing where he like holds up the cards, you know, one by one. And it's gonna show.
You can
We
try and
read 'em
leave and
off.
come back. You can try and leave and come back and see if that works.
We need that romanticism.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
The question I have for you guys though is, what's the most scariest TV show you've ever seen? Do you have one?
Oh, I got one.
TV show. Well, recent memory, maybe not. I mean, this is one of those questions where I could list this off like in my own personal time, but once I'm asked, everything I've ever seen goes out of my mind. But pretty recently, the first season of Haunting of Hill House, I thought was an effective,
Yeah!
actually scary show,
Yeah.
while
That's what
still
I was
being
gonna say.
interesting.
Yeah.
When I
Only
was a
scary
kid,
Pat.
the
Sorry,
V
go ahead.
series,
The
what
V
series?
series?
the original
Yes.
V.
The 80s one,
You
yes.
see a little tongue flicker. You're like, what the fuck?
That was remade in
Or
like 2008, right?
Rubbing their skin. Oh shit, too.
Not
Yeah, it
those,
was really
the-
bad.
the original
I mean,
one.
the old ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I was the first two seasons of American Horror Story before American Horror Story got like pretty mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie, for sure. Yeah, that to me was like, because it was FX again, and it was for the time when it came out, it was dark, and for a horror-ish, like the whole story of like the different storylines every season was kind of cool to me. But Yeah, those first 2 seasons, man. Those are pretty. Yeah, I was pretty freaked out, for sure.
The Haunting of Hill House. I just want to go back to that for a second. That to me, like I've told Jamie, I think it's one of the great masterpieces of our time from a horror standpoint. I think it is like, I think it's intensely frightening, but it's frightening in like the exact reason why horror needs to be frightening. And I fucking, oh my God, that sent me into like a serious depression for a while after I saw it the first time, because I was really trapped in that place. I was like, oh my God, the implications for those characters are so profound. And it's scary in the way that horror, I think, needs to be scary, which is that it's scary because it's real to us. It's scary because it touches on something that we can't talk about. It touches on the things we repress and we repress and we repress and we repress. And then horror gives us this outlet to look it in the face for a second, and we see it, we go, oh my God. And then it goes away again, and it goes away again, and it goes away again. And suddenly we're not afraid of imminent death, and we're not afraid of being trapped somewhere for the rest of our lives, and we're not afraid of blah, blah, blah. But then sometimes it comes back out, and we remember that one, we did actually hurt somebody that one time, and what that actually means. Like, to me, the first season of Hill House is just an extraordinary achievement in how you do horror right on television. And it is very character driven, to put it lightly. It's an extremely character driven show. And I think that is a great example of when that works. Oh my God. I think that is just an incredible achievement. I will also, though, say the first season of The Terror is another one for me that I find just intensely frightening, in a way that feels very earned and very accurate. Because even though it's a situation where, like they didn't have to put themselves in this incredible Northwest Passage environment, like they did, and what happened was terrible and was extremely frightening, and was, like we were saying earlier, a transmogrified Earth setting, right, which others have brought up. So yeah, to me, like, those are probably the most frightening seasons of television I've seen in my lifetime.
And Patrick, you just made me think for a second, really quick. This is kind of a little bit of a tangent going back to, I've always wondered, and again, you saying the familiar and the body horror and the horror, the changing and becoming a xenomorph. I've always sort of wondered how much of the actual person remains.
Yes.
That's
dude.
part of what in Aliens you
Creepy.
lose. Where, I mean, how much of Big Chap is Kane? And so if they could somehow do a tight knit drama with characters, and I don't know, you don't need like the zombie trope of, oh my God, I can't shoot that zombie because it's my child or something, but just, I don't know, just kind of a little more into the mythos of why it is an alien becomes an alien versus, I don't know. I've always found that, but for some reason that just popped in my head, that all of a sudden it's like, it'd be really cool to explore sort of the weird dark side of how much of the human or the person is in the xenomorph, but do not have them have memories or blah, blah, blah. So that's a terrible idea.
No, it's not. No, that scares me too, dude. You know why? You know why, Peter?
Frightening.
It's because it makes you just like Hill House. It makes you question what consciousness is, which is, oh my God, it gets really scary the more you think about it, right? The more you think about the fact that, like, my brain is my brain. It's not actually anything other than that. Like, that is a fucking scary idea. And what happens when that brain is not in control of what it thinks it's in control of? It's fucking horrifying, right?
Yeah,
The scariest part
it's like the
about
bear in
Haunting of Hill
Annihilation
House-
or something. What if a xenomorph like was kind of trapped in its, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
and
okay,
anybody
okay.
who's experienced
Bring it back
mental
on the
illness
table. You
knows
can
what
put
that
it back
feels
on.
like, right? Like, if like
Yeah, that's cool.
to be even just to be clinically depressed is to deal with that. Is to feel like I'm not myself right now. Like, what the fuck happened to me? Like, where am I? Like, it's a very frightening thing that I think many of us, if not all of us, can relate to in some way. And what can you do when you work that into a body horror environment? It's fucking terrifying. I agree.
Someone
From
said
there
in
is that one scene in Alien where the creature looks at Jonesy in the cage, much like Kane looked at the egg in the,
Oh.
Good
what's
point.
in there. So it's very I don't know, for whatever that's worth. Hey, Derek, how's your mic working?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah,
Hell
you
yeah.
are, Derek. There you go.
So did
Glad to be
we'll
back.
give you the floor.
Well, I guess just the last thing I heard you say was the scariest TV show, and I guess I don't really have anything that comes to mind. But Peter, you're talking about people, when they're the aliens. If I remember right, isn't that kind of what Dead Space is? That game, people, they turn into the necromorphs in that, if I remember right. I don't know if anybody's played that.
Oh yeah,
That
I love
game-
how we're bringing up all these great video games tonight. Yeah, Dead Space is a great. Dead Space in general as a franchise is a great like way to make an alien movie. By the way, I just want to say I think it's
And that
extremely
game-
well done.
That game scared the shit out of me because you're
Oh, my
you're
God.
walking down a hallway and then music starts going. You expect something to happen and it doesn't, and then it gets silent randomly again. And then you're walking, you turn around, and there's this thing behind you, and you got to blow his head off.
And it was clearly a person before that. It's very scary.
Yeah. And then going back a little bit further, you and I, we have these dreams. Maybe the show will be the most terrifying thing I watch on TV. I think what could terrify me more than an alien being on Earth, and not in the sense like Alien versus Predator where it's in Antarctica, but it's in some city wherever it is. This thing, that's terrifying to me. It's gonna wreak destruction and havoc, and it's gonna rip families apart. That's scary to me. What's it gonna do to people? Like you said, you don't know if you're safe in your house. You've got a gun. Maybe it doesn't even matter. That's the type of stuff that scares me, and I think maybe could translate to a good show.
Xenomorph dreams are not fun. It's like looking back, like when you wake up, you're like, wow, that was intense. That's kind of cool. I got to inject myself into like a xenomorph like situation, but it's like it is scary and stuff. But Jamie, it took me a while, but I thought of the scariest season of television I've seen, and that's Chernobyl for sure.
Oh man, another great choice.
Yeah.
Great choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say Penny Dreadful, the first 3 seasons. I think, was there only 3 of the first 2 seasons? Penny Dreadful was really scary. Devs actually was scary to me.
Existentially, yeah.
Totally. There's this dread there of what's happening? What are these people doing? And they're almost robotic in their responses. Devs really freaked me out.
Frame rate. Got to do a frame rate.
Well, I know we've been talking about it for like 2 years, but no, not 2 years. But yeah, I think that this could be the scariest. I think it's important that they work on that. It's important that this show be scary. And I go to these scenarios based off of our response to pandemic, people saying, oh no, whatever, it's a hoax. Something's loose in this city, whatever. Yeah, really? And, obviously this thing just starts killing people because no one believes it's real. It reminds me of that quote from, what's that movie? Kaiser Sose.
Usual Suspects.
Yeah. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing people he doesn't exist. And that you could use that to play there's a creature, out in this. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a hoax. That's a whatever political hoax. You know what I mean? And then it just kills and kills and kills because no one believes it. No one believes it. No one believes it. It's killing and it's killing. And even though there's evidence of it's killing, people don't believe that what is killing is killing. People think it's something else. So it could keep going and keep going and keep going. And no one's going to stop it because no one believes in it, which I think is terrifying.
Yeah, I agree. One morning you wake up, your neighbors are gone. Like, that's scary stuff.
Yeah, it's almost silly how that we're actually experiencing that. It's almost silly to say that we can just take from what we've seen this year and just put the basic idea into the Alien show and it'd be completely believable.
For sure.
With very few things changed, it's astonishing. I don't even remember who was just saying this a second ago because I got distracted because I was thinking about my personal experience with this. But I think Derek, you were mentioning when the neighbors are gone. I think everybody's had this experience in their lives where they're they're the only ones up, and it's kind of late at night and you're sort of just looking out the window, just kind of just trying to fall asleep. And you sort of fixate on a light somewhere in the distance, and you realize, oh, it's there's other people awake right now. It's fucking 2 a.m. What are they doing? Right. You just sort of sit there and you watch, and then the light goes out. And you have that moment where you're like, holy shit, I'm alone. That those moments like that, those uncanny moments that we experience in life are so worth tapping into from a horror perspective. I actually wrote a spec script, Jamie. I've never told you this. I'm going to send this to you.
You have
it. Starts with it starts with a dream that I had. This was 10 years ago, where I was standing on in a house, and I was looking out at a ski mountain in the distance. It was based on an actual ski mountain that I had looked at that night. And there's a little vehicle traveling up the side of the mountain, taking care of the snow. It's the middle of the night, and then the light just goes out on that truck, and it's the reasons why that happens. To me, that idea is so frightening. What happens when everything is normal, and then it's just suddenly something is slightly abnormal? What does that mean? And I think I just think that would be so great. I got to say, all the ideas that have come up tonight have just filled me with so much optimism for how this. I mean, there's
Yep.
so many ways that this could go well. I really recommend anybody who's listening to this who hasn't watched Hawley's other work, do it, because, and I've said this on previous episodes, I think especially season 2 of Fargo, I think is like top 3 seasons of television I've seen in my lifetime. I think that is like just an astonishing achievement. But also Legion is incredible too.
Legion is actually scary too.
And Legion is very scary. And also, speaking about mental illness, quote unquote, like that's a great example of, although not everything's as it seems in that show, a great example of Noah Hawley using that as a real vehicle for horror, right? As like what do I do when I'm not in control of myself anymore? I think that as an idea, as a pathogenic idea, is very, very frightening. I think what people have said tonight, Peter, you had some great ideas to that end too. I think there are many ways that this could go very well. And I think that I just want to like take a moment and recognize how fucking cool this is that we're talking about a new in development alien property. Like we have been speculating about when this was going to happen and if it was going to happen for forever since I came on the show 3.5 years ago. And we're actually talking about actionable stuff right now. Like it is greenlit, it is in production, it is happening, it's announced to shareholders. That's an amazing moment. And again, it's an amazing time to be an Alien fan. You know, I was going through some of our old episodes just yesterday, just editing some stuff. And I was looking at Alien Day 2019, and I was, looking at what a love fest it was. Even in the notes for that, I put this was a love fest, right? Because it was like the high school play, it was the short film screenings, it was all this. Everybody was kind of celebrating, and I remember thinking like, wow, I'm glad that even if this franchise is dead, like we got a year like that, like just a year where we were celebrating the whole time. And then 2020 happened, and we were like just clawing for scraps for content to put out for Alien Day. We're like looking for things to talk about. It was like so because it was in April. I mean, everybody was just like terrified that the world was ending. So we weren't exactly in a place to celebrate very much. And now here we are at the close of this year, and we're talking about actual new content from like a AAA level creative team, and with a real budget behind it. And I just think like, man, we've lost a lot of people this year. It's been very, very, very hard, but we're stepping into 2021 with some things we can really be looking forward to and focusing on. And I, for one, want to be better about focusing on the positive and focusing on the excitement of this. And I want to not be too worried about it. I think that we have a lot of things that we can be happy about right now.
Here, here.
Yeah, cheers. We'll
Patrick
drink to
fucking
that.
hates 2020.
Preach, Patrick.
And
I do fucking hate 2020, Jamie.
And like Haunting of Hill House, the scariest thing about Haunting of Hill House that they could do with this Alien series is set it in Methuen, Mass. So that's something that could be done, just so you know. And I know I'm going way back, but it's been like spinning in my head since you mentioned that show. But like that show is based on, I think it was a book first, but the original
Shirley Jackson, yeah.
Thank you. The original movie adaptation was, I think, done in 1960.
1959, I think.
50. Yeah. Thank you. And and it's a beautiful black and white film, and there's like a drama. There's something playing at, is this all in Eleanor's head, or is it not? And they just took that germ and stretched it into 10 episodes. And ascribed all these great, and they extrapolated it, and it's like, what if everyone's mental illness was or mental state was in question in terms of what's happening and what they're experiencing in this house. And it's just like screenwriting porn. I want some of that for this Alien series. If they're going to stretch it, I mean, this is episodic. That's never been done with Alien outside of comics. So I really hope they can they can take the goods and really just take like the flavor out of the food and really just like and stretch it and really give us something special. And like Patrick just said, if there's we could do a lot worse in terms of creative teams. So I'm very hopeful. I think this could be great.
What do you guys think of Ridley Scott coming in as executive producer?
Do it. He's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked about it. Him stepping back a little bit and having someone else who's kind of running the show who has, something different or fresh. It's a good idea. We'll see how if he can keep his kind of ego out of it.
Yeah, guarantees there'll be a synthetic in there.
Oh yeah.
That's true. He loves those
There we
androids.
Well, that's the question about.
Look at 2049 though. I think to me, like, that's a great example. I mean, Ridley Scott, he loves putting out content. He loves producing. Scott Free has been one of the most prolific production houses for 40 years now. He adores this kind of shit. And I think it's a good way to do two things. One, to shot block. I think he's really good at doing that when he believes in filmmakers. He did that for Denis Villeneuve in the production of 2049 with the studio. He stuck up for him. He was like, no, he knows what he's doing. He can back off, because Ridley Scott had to fight for that himself a lot as a young filmmaker. And it also means, I think, that he's going to have an ear to canon and to making sure that this isn't going to screw the other movies up too much. I think that he wouldn't want to let that happen. And I think that's really, really good. I think that there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think he believes in Noah Hawley. I think that also, I do want to say, though, it's not confirmed that he's executive producing. At least when they made this announcement, he was in advanced talks to do it, right? So we don't know for sure that's going to happen.
I bet. Yeah.
I think if it does happen, that's a good indication that this is not going to retcon the movies, which would be great to avoid doing, and that at least it will have some prestige behind it from like a continuity standpoint. And yeah.
Definitely. I think that I would imagine by Alien Day, which is what, 4 or 5 months away now, they'll probably use that day to either show as a teaser or make announcements, that type of thing. So that's probably something to look forward to. We've been going now for about an hour and 45 minutes. We probably think this is a good time to wrap. I know we could probably stay here all night and talk and dream about ideas, but thank you guys so much for coming on.
We're all going to be fucking dreaming. We're going to be in our childhood homes. Xenomorphs coming to attack us.
It's funny you guys dream. I've had like one dream of xenomorphs before, but it was scary, and it's not something I'd like to dream again.
I remember my very first dream, and I woke up. It was cold sweats, and it was a kid.
Really?
When I was a kid, it was awful.
Like a night terror.
Like a night. Literal night terror.
Jesus.
And I still dream to this day. I still have dreams as well.
Not fun till you wake up. I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, it's fun in retrospect. I'm like, man, I'm pretty fucking badass. I was like 8, I was surviving this thing.
Yeah, right. You wake up, you're eating
breakfast.
Can handle it. God, that's a badass dream.
Yeah, yo, man, these foods look great. I'm a hero. Fucking bring on 3rd grade. Before we wrap, actually, Jamie, if it's all right, I want to just do a quick thing, just in any order you guys want. What's just one thing you want to leave fans with who are listening? Because this will be dropping basically right at the end of the, like, with a couple of days left in the year. So what's something you want to throw out there into the world for fans at this moment? Anybody can go.
I'll jump in and say, keep loving the things you love, because they are carrying us through. And I want to thank Jaime and Patrick for just like keeping their foot on the gas this year, and just like keeping you guys. Thank you guys. Because, it's nice. It's the little things. It's the little things that like get you through the day, and that something to look forward to, these little things. So, we have a show to look forward to. It's a wonderful thing. It doesn't seem necessarily like things are getting that much easier that fast, but it's all about just counting your lucky stars. Like the year I've had, if I had this same year a couple of years ago, I might be complaining about it, just personally what I've gone through. But I have no choice but to look around at what's gone on and be super grateful. Like I'm almost like, it's almost becoming like a neuroses of how much I'm just like being thankful for everything. I'm just like telling my girlfriend I love her 10 times more. And when Patrick was going on, I was getting a little emotional because my mom texted me, said, I love you. I was like, this is way too much right now. This is way, way, way too much. Like I love lots of movies, and I love lots of different franchises and series, but like Alien's something that just like I carried in my back pocket as like something I always thought was cool and carried in my heart. And like Patrick, like it was something like when Covenant came around, I was like, there's a new Alien movie? And I asked my friends, and no one went and saw it with me. And I was like, and I missed it. And then I watched it on my laptop alone in my room. And it was so dark and upsetting that I was like, oh my God, I don't even know how to parse this. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I was just like, oh, I guess that movie was okay. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I had to seek out what people thought about it. And that's how I found the podcast. And like, man, now I've gone into a corner, but I'm just saying that thank you to everybody. Like, let's just like, I that's the feeling I'm overwhelmed with at the end of this year is like, wow, like, I made it through and I'm doing pretty okay. Like, even though I have a few things I could complain about, But I'd be an ass to do so, seeing what other people have gone through and stuff. So, and especially in America, where it's such a massive, our nation is a continent, and people are so fractured and isolated, especially now more than ever, that it's like, you could be cynical and be like, oh, it's kind of sad, we're all just like bonding over stuff like The Mandalorian over the internet. But like a win is a win. So like, I'm not a religious person, but like I want to say the words like God bless everybody, like God bless you. Tiny Tim, God bless Tiny Tim. Go buy me a goose. I need it. I'm buying all you gooses. You get a goose and you get a goose. All right, that's enough for me.
I'll try it on that quick and get out of here too, and let the next person go. But just I like that. I like take the little things, like I said, the release of just unloading the pulse rifle. Just being back on the show and talking to you guys. Chase, hey, look, you got someone to be on the couch with now anytime. You got right. Perry and Derek in Minnesota. I'd go up there. Seemingly, I'd be up there any other year right now with my parents up there. So there's a lot to be said to that, and maybe we'll meet up there sometime. And like it's the little things, and I like that this is again it's a franchise where you don't have to take it seriously, but you can. It's something that can scare us. It's something that can make us laugh. Clara, hopefully you're listening out there. Resurrection, I'm a fan too. That's one of my favorite episodes where she's just, you guys back her in the corner and she does not let down, and I love it. Winona Ryder, she's out. It's great. So I'm here. I'll be the apologist this episode. It's worth it. It's got the body hoarder. It's got the various versions.
Oh, I gotta fuck to get off this boat.
But it's great.
Get you off.
So you know what? If you're a Resurrection fan out there, it's okay. Like we said, there was a time when Patrick was getting destroyed for liking Covenant, but I think just seeing even from an outsider,
now he fucking hates it.
Yeah, where everyone.
Yo, I'm wearing a Covenant T-shirt tonight.
Yeah. Now you can like anyone. I mean, you can like any of the movies, and you're part of the crew.
He hates all the Alien movies.
That's good. Yeah, worst fucking movies ever. So yeah, it's good. So just it's fun. So that's the main thing. I'm glad everyone's okay. If you're listening, Clara, it's okay to like Resurrection. Let's do it.
I've got 2, maybe 3 things I'd like to say if I can string that many coherent thoughts together. First, Patrick, I used to have these reoccurring dreams about the alien. Maybe sometime I'll chat with you about that. Second,
please do.
I think it's really cool because I've never had anybody to talk to about these movies, about this universe. And I like them a lot. I love them. And I feel like I don't compare to your guys' levels of this stuff, but I love it. And that kind of leads me to my last thing, Jaime. I discovered your podcast sometime after Covenant came out, and I started listening from the beginning. I had to listen to from the beginning. That's just the type of person I am. And so I just absorbed your material. I'd listen at work. And so I got all that build up, how excited you guys were for Covenant. And I had seen it. And I had my own feelings about the movie. And so I'm listening, and each episode I know is getting closer and closer and closer to when you guys saw it. And then just that letdown you guys had, and just kind of the beatdown you gave it. And myself, the more times I watch it, the more I like it. And I hope that's not what we get out of this TV show, is we're building all this hype up around it, and then we just think it fucking sucks. That's my worst fear out of all this, is I don't want to put it up on this pedestal where we're so excited and then just so extremely let down about it.
Yeah, right.
But for Alien fans, that'd be par for the course. We can take it. That's why we're surviving this year. We can take anything.
You were let down too? Welcome to fandom.
No. Yeah. Game over, man.
Yeah. No, I'll hop on the love fest. It's it's the one thing. So I'm glad that we have a lot to look forward to for Alien. I mean, the TV show is the biggest thing. We got the possible Cold Forge game, that prequel novel. Alex White has the novel. So the one thing is that even though Aliens, like as I said before, it's always been kind of niche, and there's been times where it's been it's been it has its peaks and valleys like everything. There's times where it feels like it doesn't exist. It's nice that going into this next year that we have something so exciting to look for. And based off of this year in terms of, all of our mindsets, like everyone in the world, how you're doing with the pandemic. It's good. Like Patrick kept kind of bringing up, it's nice that we can just take a second here for us specifically, for example, take a second here. And while we're talking about our hopes and fears about the show and about the franchise in general, it's nice when you just take a moment and you're real mindful of what you're feeling and you realize that, it's just in this moment, we can just hang out here and just talk about the news that we're getting. So it's going to be tough to stay positive because, things aren't quite looking up in a lot of ways in the socio political climate, but it's good that we still have, things like this. And even though it's all over Zoom and it's different than it used to be, it's good that we still have, the things that we enjoy and we still have each other.
Yeah, Chase, just going off of that, it's been so great to meet you guys, Jamie and Patrick. Like I and everyone here on our chat tonight. It's just, I'm so thankful to have been led into this community, and all I had to do is just be super obsessed with Alien since I was a kid, and the whole franchise, and to knowing, I guess just coming into it. And I actually discovered your show just this year. The first episode I listened to was Nihilism on Alien 3, and I was immediately hooked, and just felt so. I know, Jamie, I've kind of, or I don't know if you, Patrick, I just felt so at home with you guys, and it's just so cool to feel those feelings with the world being in the state that it's in, just with quarantining and the fear and that kind of lurking in the background, and what that's doing to people's mental health and state like that. And Patrick, man, I feel for you, like just what you have to go through now, and the possibility you might not be able to see your family is tough. And if there's anything, for any other people in the world that are feeling that and going through that, there's communities like this, and that you can just really feel connected to people still, and just to, I don't know, look around and like really appreciate what you have in your life, and just to be thankful for that. And yeah, you guys, I don't know, it's just awesome, and I'm super excited, honestly, for fandom and for everything we have coming forward. Like you said, we've been waiting for so long for something like this to happen, and we're finally getting it. Lo and behold, in the midst of this pandemic and everything, so we have some great things to be looking forward to, and a lot to talk about, obviously. But yeah, let down or not, I'm here for it. I think it's going to be great to get some new Alien content, and yeah, I'm just along for the ride. So buckle up, let's go.
I have one more
Express
thing.
elevator to hell.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm also glad that I got to watch the entirety of Alien 3 the whole time. I think we finally went through the end credits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
this is
over.
true, dude.
I
Yeah.
just noticed that.
It's good timing.
I love it.
I want to just before, well, just I'll throw mine, and then Jamie, I'll throw to you to close out. I wanted to say Michael had to leave because he had a family call. As many of us have multiple Zoom calls, we can relate to this. But he said thanks for a great time, and I'm sure he would have had some very heartfelt thing to wrap up with. But as many people know who listen to the show, Michael is just like, a bedrock part of this community and a good friend of the show for years and years and years. So I'm sure he sends his regards. And I just want to personally thank Jamie, especially, who has kept me engaged and kept me going this entire time. Even though every 3 weeks I'm like, Jamie, I need a fucking break. I'm so stressed out. I can't do anything anymore. Like, and I just really appreciate it. This has been a year where, just speaking personally, especially as a dad, I've just been swamped. I've been feeling like I'm fucking drowning for much of this year. in a lot of ways. And I think we all are, and this is not unique to parents, obviously, but from a parental perspective, just personally, that's something that I think has been really hard for me, is trying to feel like I'm being a present father during this time, because I'm such a fucking mess. And so that's been occupying a lot of my energy. And you know, because of that, I've stepped away from a lot of social media. I've stepped away from a lot of online engagement that I used to really enjoy a lot. And my world has become very small this year. Literally, it's become basically just this house, you know. And that's been a real thing that I'm dealing with, and it's been very, and for some reason this instinct has kicked into me a number of times this year to kind of shut off from the world and kind of just focus on this, like just keeping my household together, like keeping things okay. And then there's Jamie, who's like, hey, did you, like, you know, I got this interview with us, you know, I have some ideas for like this audio drama, like, what do you think you can do? And those little moments have been so amazing, Jamie, and you know that because I tell you that. But honestly, I want to say that out loud. I've needed that because it's reminded me that the world is out there, that there's still fucking stuff going on, that it's okay to still be excited about movies. It's okay to still have emotional conversations about horror TV series, that it's okay to still be a nerd, that like I don't have to only be one thing just for the sake of survival, that even in times of survival we can contain multitudes within ourselves. And a big part of my multitude has been Alien since I was a young child, like many of the people on here. Since that first day in second grade, when my buddy Greg, whose dad worked as a prototyper at Kenner, brought the gorilla alien to the playground, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Can I please borrow it? And I've been obsessed with it ever since. And that's a great thing. And that's part of the rainbow that makes up our lives, is our nerdy fandom and our need to connect over that thing. And for many people on this call today, for people like Chase, who felt like he didn't have people on the couch, for people like Peter, who had a couch the size of Delaware, for all these different people, we grew up needing to talk about this stuff. And this podcast journey for me over these last, you know, since 2017, has been a continual moment to connect over something that I love, that I've been waiting desperately to talk about. So thank you, Jamie, for reminding me of that this year. Thank you for pulling me back and getting me to chill the fuck out and just come on the show and just do it. Thank you for everybody for being patient just with us, because we've, you know, missed release windows. We've had some breaks and things like that. But also just personally, like, I know I haven't been on my game the way that I would have liked to have been many times this year, because sometimes I'm just sort of dealing with it, like we all are. But I do want to say, before I go on for too long, that that's part of the beauty of doing this format, you know, is that it's essentially an audio diary of our lives at any given time, right? There's the objective things we talk about, like we talk about the Alien films, we do interviews, we talk about specific topics. But at the end of the day, this is basically just a moment in our lives captured on audio. And for the last 2 hours, I've spent this moment in my life with a bunch of wonderful people, many of whom I've never actually spoken with before. And that's a fucking gift. And that's something that I hope I never, ever, ever lose sight of. And I hope we do this for many, many years to come. And I hope those years are kinder to us than 2020 has been. And I hope that those years bring us new series and new announcements. And even if we get embarrassed and disappointed and we feel like they suck, young Ripley series, even if they're not what we want them to be, I hope we can still have passionate dialogues about them and not feel ashamed for wanting to do that, because it's a very human thing to do. So thank you for connecting. And thank you, Jamie, for keeping this going this year. And thank you for keeping the torch lit for fans around the world who listen to this and tune in every single day. Thank you.
Not gonna make me cry, Patrick Green.
Very eloquent.
Yeah, I mean, to close that out, really, I'm not married. I don't have any children. I live alone. Essentially, I have housemates, but I'm pretty much a hermit. So I'm in my office/bedroom 23 hours of the day, just because that's life. And the walls have certainly closed in, and just not knowing what's going to happen. Is this country going to survive? Or, you know, are we going to survive the pandemic? Like all of these things. But really, the bright spots for me have been everybody responding to the news of a show, and or even like The Mandalorian, seeing everybody respond and connect and grow together and enjoy something as a group of people. Like that's just gold for me. But Alien has certainly always been my lifeblood, and I'm so excited to look forward to what they deliver, and to be with you, Patrick, and all of you guys, and Maj and Perry, who we talk almost all the time now, don't we?
Yeah, we really do.
But so it's really it is a great community. But really, ultimately, like for me, like I know with those of you who are parents, or you have girlfriends or wives or whatever, you might have that to go to kind of pivot back to to kind of figure out what's going on in that life. For me, my way of coping is you guys, is the fans. Like I need this interaction with people. Like that's all I get. This right here is there's no one else that I see. I mean, I do see roommates, but rarely. They're always either gone in San Francisco or wherever. So this fandom is lifeblood for me, really. Like without it, like, and Patrick knows very well, like I've been depression and all of those things, like the walls close in really quick if you don't keep sight of what's true and what's real. And that is certainly you guys. So thank you guys. Peter as well, who we talk to all the time regularly, and Maj, who I now also talk to regularly. You guys have been awesome, and my family. So here's to the next year, and hopefully we get some more news on the next show. Thank you guys for being on. It's been 2 hours, a great 2 hours, a fast 2 hours. Hope to have you guys on again soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
See you in 2021.
Oh yeah. See you. For more on Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga podcast, please visit perfectorganism.com. Perfect Organism is available for listen or download through Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, and Spotify. If you'd like to support the show, please visit perfectorganism.com/support. Thank you.